They don't stab you in the back. They pull out your chair, smile, and wait for you to fall on your own. Some of the most dangerous people in your life are not enemies. They're familiar. They remember your childhood nickname. They know your favorite food. They laugh at your jokes just enough to stay close, but never enough to feel real. They're the ones who vanish when you succeed and magically reappear when you're down. And if you've ever walked away from a conversation with someone close, only to feel smaller, less sure, quietly agitated, you've already met them. But here's the catch. They never say, "I hate you." No, they perform love. They mimic care. They master the art of the polite knife. Stoic philosophy doesn't ask you to see ghosts in everyone. It asks you to see clearly, to remove the fog of emotional debt, social guilt, and wishful thinking. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You should not give circumstances the power to rouse anger, for they don't care." The same applies to people. Some simply don't care for your light, your rise, or your happiness. They care about access, about control, about staying close enough to monitor, mock, or measure themselves against you. This video is your mirror. A cold one. We're not here to make you paranoid. We're here to help you notice what your instincts have been whispering all along. You'll learn the patterns, the slow claps, the delayed support, the just joking insults, the vanishing act during your best moments. And through the lens of Stoic clarity, you'll stop asking, "Why do they treat me like this?" and start deciding how far they should be from your life. If this topic hits something in you, like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic. This isn't self-help. This is self-defense. Drop your command code or share a story in the comments. When did you realize someone close didn't actually want you to win? Let's begin. Because real peace isn't just about who you let in, it's about who you finally leave out. Number 1, their silence screams when you succeed. You just got promoted. You've worked late nights, sacrificed weekends, swallowed your doubts, and finally it happens. The email arrives. The announcement is made. Your phone buzzes. A few people congratulate you. Your real friends show up in all caps. And then, silence. The one person you expected to hear from says nothing. Not a word. Not even a double tap on your post. Or worse, they reply to something completely unrelated like, "Did you watch the game last night?" You mention the promotion in a message, they leave it on read, or they type cool and then vanish. That's not forgetting. That's not being busy. That's resentment disguised as detachment. A specific kind of emotional sabotage that hides in the behavior of people too close to admit how bitter they've become. They're not happy for you because your success makes their stagnation feel unbearable. And rather than face their own lack of progress, they punish yours by pretending it doesn't exist. This is what psychologists call social comparison theory, coined by Leon Festinger. The theory states that people determine their own social and personal worth based on how they stack up against others. In a perfect world, that would drive mutual growth. But in reality, when someone close to you feels they're not measuring up, they don't just feel small. They feel attacked by your excellence. Your win becomes their loss. Your progress becomes their mirror. And if they can't look into it without shame, they'll do what they can to crack the glass. You might think, maybe they didn't see it. No, they saw it. Trust me, they saw it. These are the same people who notice when you post a plate of food at a new restaurant or a gym selfie. But when you announce something that took courage, discipline, and relentless work, they evaporate. Not by accident, by design. Take Rachel, 34, from Denver. Recently finished her master's degree while working full-time and raising a daughter. She posted a photo at graduation. Her childhood best friend, let's call her Jay, didn't like, didn't comment, didn't call. 2 days later, Jay messaged her a meme about people who love to show off online, with the caption, "Lol, this you?" Rachel laughed at first, but then it hit her. Jay had never once supported anything that took real effort. Parties? She'd be the first to RSVP. Drama? She was front row. But milestones? She disappeared. The truth was simple. Jay didn't clap because she couldn't stand not being the one on stage. This is not rare. It happens in families. You tell your aunt you bought a house and she says, "Must be nice." Back in my day, we didn't need granite countertops to be happy. You tell your cousin you're getting married and he says, "We'll see how long that lasts." These aren't jokes. They're passive-aggressive expressions of swallowed envy. And the more stoic you are about their silence, the more they double down, because nothing frustrates a bitter person more than a calm winner. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." In this case, they crave your stumble, your humility, your need for their approval, and when you don't offer it, they punish you not with rage, but with absence. So what do? You notice, you don't react. The power of Stoicism isn't confrontation, it's observation. You stop expecting a toast from people who only raise glasses to themselves. You stop sending screenshots of your achievements to people who never send back more than a And most of all, you stop mistaking longevity for loyalty. Just because they've been in your life a long time doesn't mean they want your life to get better. Here's your practical takeaway. Create a mental scoreboard, not to keep score, but to track behavior. Who shows up for your growth? Who mirrors your excitement? Who gives without being prompted? And who disappears when you shine too brightly? That's your circle. That's your data. That's the real alignment. Not who's known you longest, but who claps when they're not in the photo. You don't owe them a confrontation. You don't owe them guilt. You owe yourself the right to succeed without lowering your volume for someone else's comfort. Their silence is their confession. Their pivot in conversation is proof. They're telling you, in the clearest language possible, I can't handle your becoming. Let them choke on it. Let them disappear. And above all, keep winning anyway. Number 2. They use just joking as a coward's armor for real contempt. It always starts the same. A laugh, a grin, maybe even a nudge. Then the words, relax, I'm just joking. But you weren't laughing, because what they said wasn't a joke. It was an insult, a calculated strike wrapped in sarcasm and sugar. They joked about your weight, your job, your appearance, your sexuality, your relationship, your boundaries, your background. And when your face changes, when your voice stiffens, when the air shifts, they retreat. They don't apologize. They deflect. Wow, sensitive much? Can't even take a joke? Damn, I guess you changed. Yes, you did. You finally realize that anyone who has to label an insult a joke after it lands wasn't joking to begin with. This tactic is one of the oldest, slimiest forms of hostility, passive-aggressive dominance. It's emotional warfare for people who don't have the guts to confront you directly. So instead, they make you doubt yourself. They smile while gutting you, then hand you the blade and ask, "Why are you bleeding?" It was just a joke. It's especially insidious because it confuses the brain. According to psychologists, this method of communication triggers cognitive dissonance, a psychological discomfort that occurs when someone says something that contradicts how you thought they felt about you. You think they're a friend, but friends don't repeatedly make you the punchline. You think they love you, but love doesn't cut this deep while laughing. What makes it worse is the consistency. They never do it once. They do it again and again, always with a crowd, always at the wrong time, always masked with charm. You sure you want to wear that? Careful, you might scare him off looking like that. Oh, we all know you can't cook to save your life. And the people around laugh, half-heartedly, unsure whether to play along or step in. Most won't, because the joke structure is a shield. And calling them out makes you the buzzkill, the overthinker, the drama starter. Take Melissa, 28, from Chicago. She had a childhood friend named Tori, bright, loud, magnetic. But over time, Tori developed a habit of cutting Melissa down in group settings. Melissa's the quiet one. She probably won't get it, or well, not everyone's a size 2 like you, huh? Always followed by laughter, a wink, and kidding, babe. The crowd laughed. Melissa laughed too at first, until she stopped, until she realized that the jokes only went one way. That her silence became the price of entry into that friendship. That every time she let it slide, she gave permission to be diminished. The Stoics didn't speak in memes, but they understood the art of restraint and the damage of poison disguised as play. Epictetus said, "It is not he who gives the insult that is wrong, but he who allows it to enter his soul." Let that sink in. The insult only wounds when you allow it to nest in your mind, which means the real power isn't just in recognizing the jab, it's in how fast you eject it from your self-worth. What should you do? Stop laughing to make others comfortable. Your discomfort is already proof enough. If someone truly values you, they'll notice your shift. They'll see when you stop smiling, They'll pause when you go quiet. And if they keep going, they weren't ever playing. They were training you to accept low-level disrespect masked as personality. Tip: call the joke what it is, not to shame them, but to rewire your own brain. Next time they say, "I was joking," answer with, "You joke about me a lot." Why is that? Make it awkward. Stoicism isn't about politeness, it's about self-possession. People who love you should make you feel safe, even when teasing. If you always leave the room feeling smaller, ask yourself, what's the real price of staying close? People like this often escalate. If you laugh, they push further. If you call it out, they flip the script. It was just banter. This generation is so soft, you're not fun anymore. What they're really saying is, I don't know how to feel powerful unless I make someone else feel weak. And when you remove that dynamic, when you stop giving them the stage, you'll find they lose interest. Not because they're sorry, because without the audience, their mask has no purpose. Here's what's funny though, not in their way, but in yours. The moment you stop engaging, they start scrambling. You take away their permission, and they suddenly want to discuss boundaries. But boundaries aren't trendy. They're structural. They're not for others to agree with. They're for you to enforce silently. You don't need to yell. You just need to stop playing along. And if that makes you too serious, so be it. You'd rather be serious than silently dismantled in the name of humor. Because if someone needs to laugh at you to feel alive, you don't need them anywhere near your life. Number 3, they only show up when you're down, not to help but to harvest. They never message you to celebrate. They're never the first to respond when things go right, but the second your life cracks, just slightly, they appear. Fast, eager, with that tone. Hey, I heard what happened, you okay? It sounds like concern, but something in your gut tightens, because the question isn't really, are you okay? What they're asking is, how bad is it? Tell me everything. These are the ones who show up when you bleed, not with bandages, but with a notebook. They want the tea, not your healing. They want to witness the damage, not repair it. They want to see you just low enough to feel higher by comparison. And worst of all, they dress it up as empathy. The truth is, they're not your support system. They're your emotional paparazzi. They wait in silence when you thrive, scroll past your wins, stay too busy to acknowledge your work, but lose your job, get dumped, fall sick, get dragged online, and suddenly they're in your DMs like spiritual paramedics. Just checking in, saw your post, if you need anything, but ask for real help, disappear. Try to celebrate again, vanish. Because the moment you rise, you're no longer useful to their emotional diet of this behavior has a name. Psychologists call it Schadenfreude, the experience of pleasure, joy, or self-satisfaction that comes from witnessing the troubles, failures, or humiliation of others. In one study by researchers at Princeton, participants who felt threatened by others' success reported higher satisfaction when that person experienced setbacks. Translation: some people don't want you to lose everything, just enough to stay beneath them. Take Jason, 37, from Miami. A quiet guy. Runs a gym. Had a falling out with a close friend group after one guy in the crew, Mark, constantly undercut him. When Jason went viral on TikTok for his fitness routines, nobody said a word, not even a like. But when one of his old clients falsely accused him of using AI to fake results, Mark called immediately. Not to defend him, not to check on him, just to ask, so what's your side of the story? You good? Jason kept it short. Handled. Mark replied, damn, I was just wondering. Heard it's messy. That was it. No help, no encouragement, just emotional looting to see if Jason was cracked open enough to pull gossip from. Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius warned about this kind of presence cloaked as care. He wrote, never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Translation: if you need to distort yourself or reveal your vulnerability to someone who's secretly enjoying it, it's not support, it's self-betrayal. Because these people aren't checking in, they're checking your status. Are you weaker? Are you more relatable now? Are you falling into a space where they feel superior again? And it gets darker. If you stay in pain too long, they lose interest. Because you're no longer entertaining, you're exhausting. They don't want to actually sit with you through depression, rebuilding, silence. They wanted the drama, the plot twist, the pity-worthy moment that they could feed on, then retreat. Your actual healing? That's not sexy enough. That's not screenshot material. So they move on. They find someone else cracking and call it compassion all over again. So what do? You notice. You don't overshare. When someone only reaches out when your life falls apart, remember it. Not to hate them, not to get revenge, but to log the data. Behavior doesn't lie. Patterns don't shift out of nowhere. People don't go from absent to intimate overnight without motive. You test them. Next time they ask how you're doing in a crisis, flip it. Say, honestly, I'm doing better than ever. This was the reset I needed. Watch their face. Watch how fast they deflate. If they're truly for you, they'll cheer. If they're not, the conversation ends. You protect your wounds. Some people don't deserve access to your rawness. Stoicism isn't about bottling emotion. It's about choosing who deserves your openness. You can hurt, you can fall, but you don't owe your pain to spectators. Heal privately, rebuild powerfully. And when you return so high, they can't even pretend they helped you rise. Because the people who only come around when things are broken never came to fix anything. They came to document the wreckage. You're not a storyline. You're not their humble reminder. You're not the character they use to feel better about the plot of their own life. And the next time they come knocking with soft concern and a too eager smile, answer with boundaries, then close the door, quietly, completely. Number 4. They keep rewinding your past because your present intimidates them. You're doing well now, maybe better than ever. You've worked through your chaos, outgrown your shame, cleaned your path, built something solid, but they won't let you forget who you used to be. And not in a nostalgic, proud, look how far you've come kind of way. No, they bring it up with a grin, with a jab, with surgical precision disguised as banter. Weren't you the one who dropped out of school back then? Remember how awkward you were in high school? Man, those braces. You chased that one girl for a whole year and still got rejected, right? And they say it right in front of your fiancé. It's never random. It's never innocent. It's a hit job dressed in memory. This is the person who can't handle who you are now. So they keep digging up what you were, because that's the version they felt superior to. They're not laughing with you. They're laughing at the distance between your former weakness and your current strength, hoping you'll still feel small enough to let them lead. These are the people who remember every scar you've ever had. Not because they care, but because your scars remind them that you were once lower than them. And if they keep replaying those scenes, maybe, just maybe, you'll start to question if your success was ever real. This behavior is what social psychologists call anchoring bias, when someone clings to an initial perception of you and refuses to update it, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. You can run a company now, but to them, you're still the one who failed that group project. You can marry the love of your life, but they'll still whisper about that time you got ghosted. They don't want an accurate version of you. They want a controlled version where they can remind you and others that you weren't always this refined, confident, respected. Take Chris, 35, from Boston, former high school dropout, struggled through his 20s, now owns 3 barbershops, leads a mentorship program, and just got engaged. At his engagement dinner, his cousin raised a glass and said, "To think this is the same guy who couldn't even finish 10th grade. Chris, remember how you used to get beat up trying to impress girls?" Everyone laughed politely. Chris's fiancée squeezed his hand. He smiled, nodded, said nothing. But that night, he told her, that was the last time he'll get that close. And that's exactly the point. The Stoics knew this tactic well. Contempt once said, "It is the mark of a narrow mind to hold a man to what he once was, and not to see who he becomes." Real strength isn't just about outgrowing your past. It's about refusing to let others chain you to it. So what do? You don't justify. You don't argue. You clarify. Not to them, but to yourself. You don't need to remind them of how much you've changed. They know. That's why they're dragging you backward. Not because they've forgotten, but because they remember exactly how powerless you used to feel, and they're hoping you'll slip back into it, out of politeness. You stop laughing at the old jokes when they bring up the acne, the crush that ghosted you, the job you got fired from. Don't smile. Don't give them the social cue that says, it's okay to keep doing this. Say less. Go still. Let the awkwardness sit. Let it choke the room. Silence in this case is not weakness, it's a verdict, and people will hear it louder than words. You upgrade the room, not just your wardrobe. The truth is, some people are only close because you haven't closed the door yet. They're only present because you haven't updated your circle to match your level. You're not arrogant for realizing that. You're awake. Stoicism teaches detachment not from people, but from illusions. The illusion that shared history means shared growth. It doesn't. Sometimes it just means they knew you before you knew your worth. And that's the only version of you they're comfortable with. Your past is not a weapon. Your transformation is not a punchline. And anyone who tries to shrink your evolution into a throwaway joke was never proud of you. They were only comfortable when you were beneath them. You're not that person anymore. And they hate it. Let them. Then leave them. Number 5. They copy you, but never give you credit. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. That's a lie. Imitation without credit, without respect, without humility, is theft wearing insecurity like cologne. And the worst offenders? They're not your distant haters. They're the ones closest to you. The ones who watch you build, borrow your blueprint, then pretend they invented the bricks. They start by observing, quietly. They notice your tone, your phrases, the way you show up in a room, the new way you tie your boots. The quote you shared once on a story, "Discipline is freedom." Next week it's on their feed, with no tag. You talk about the creative use of minimalist slides for storytelling. Suddenly, they're teaching a class on visual narrative techniques. You take up cold showers and post one photo, suddenly they're on the grind too, but somehow better, more pure. You share a method for running, split intervals, controlled breath, music in left ear only, and 2 weeks later, they're uploading their new personal training routine, and you're not even in the story. And then comes the insult. They don't stop at copying, that would be bearable. No, they have to flip it, turn it, undermine you. Oh, I've been into that minimalist look for a while. That quote's been around forever, I didn't get it from anyone. The cold shower trend is so cliche, but I'm doing it my own way. Their mouths say I came up with this, but their behavior screams, I only felt confident doing it once I saw you go first. Why do they do it? Because deep down, you're their unspeakable reference point. But acknowledging that would mean admitting they were behind, and their ego won't allow it. So instead, they quietly replicate your movement, then detach it from you, so they can present it to the world as if it bloomed from their mind fully formed. Psychologically, this is a mix of envy-fueled mimicry and status protection. Social mimicry is common. We all mirror what we admire. But the toxic version is different. According to Dr. Susan Krauss-Whitborn, people who engage in competitive imitation often have unresolved inferiority tied to personal identity. They copy not to learn, but to compete silently, while pretending collaboration never existed. Take Devin, 31, from Austin. Digital designer. Started experimenting with slide-based content, light text, strong contrast, minimalist transitions. People loved it, shared it. Then his old college buddy, who had never once been into design, posted a carousel with the same format, same grid layout, same structure, even the same closing phrase Devin had been using, no noise, just clarity. Devin commented with a subtle "looks familiar," and the guy replied, "Well, we all learn from the same internet." No mention, no nod, no nothing. And yet, they keep watching, keep saving your stuff, keep showing up in new versions of you. Stoic philosophy has a cure for this, and it's not confrontation, it's detachment from recognition. Epictetus said, if someone bathes quickly, don't say he bathes badly, say he bathes quickly. If someone steals your style, don't say he's fake, say he imitates. Translation? Observe, note, let go. If they need your light to find their way, fine, just don't hand them the torch. So what do you do? First, stop feeding them. Don't overshare your process with people who don't share your respect. Keep your next move quieter. Let your evolution happen behind closed doors. They can't copy what they can't access. Second, don't beg for credit. If they wanted to acknowledge your influence, they would. Their silence is their confession. You don't need a shout out, you need results. Third, outpace them. Not out of spite, but clarity. While they're busy repackaging your yesterday, you're already 10 miles ahead in a direction they haven't discovered. Stay original, stay fluid, stay uncopyable by moving too fast to follow. The truth is, they admire you, but they resent needing you to feel inspired. And that resentment turns into subtle sabotage, copying without tagging, mimicking while mocking, learning in private while pretending they've always known. Let them have the crumbs. You've got the recipe. Let them wear your old skin. You've already grown out of it. Let them trace your map. You're already on a new continent. They know exactly who sparked the flame, but they'll never say your name. And you don't need them to. Because real power doesn't shout. It simply moves in silence while others echo. Number 6, they give you advice that would sink you, but say it with a smile. It sounds like care, it sounds like friendship, but it tastes like poison with a little honey on the rim. You should just quit that job, it's not worth the stress. Why don't you take a break for a year, find yourself? You're overthinking everything, just do what feels right. They call it advice, but deep down you feel it. This isn't guidance, it's a gentle push toward the edge. This kind of person doesn't scream at you. They whisper softly while handing you a brick tied to your ankle. You're working 50 hours a week. You've got a mortgage, 2 kids in school, no savings cushion, and the job you have, while far from perfect, is the only thing between your current life and total collapse. But somehow, they make you feel weak for sticking with it. Like you're betraying your soul by not chasing a dream you can't afford yet. They love words like freedom, peace, alignment, and they throw them around like motivational grenades without ever checking the battlefield you're on. And here's the worst part. They'll use your exhaustion against you. The bags under your eyes, the fact you miss a few meetups, your quiet nights, they'll point to those and say, see, you're not happy. That job's killing you. But what they won't say is, you're doing something hard, and I admire that. Let me ask what support you need. No, because that would require maturity, empathy, context. What they really mean is, I don't understand your fight, so I'd rather you abandon it. Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus once said, we must not give ourselves to leisure as if we have already conquered. And yet, these people advise you to retreat when you're still mid-battle, when you're trying to build something, hold a family together, and inch forward through pressure. Their solution to discomfort? Drop the weight. Start over. Hope the universe catches you. They're not giving advice, they're projecting their own fear of commitment, of resilience, of structured sacrifice. Take Angela, 39, from Sacramento. She works in operations at a manufacturing firm. It's intense, long hours, high stakes, but it pays her mortgage. It covers her son's therapy and her daughter's school fees. One night over drinks, her friend Nina, a part-time wellness coach living with her boyfriend, says, honestly, babe, your energy is off. You should just leave. No job is worth that. Angela blinked. Then what? Nina shrugged. Something will come. Maybe this is the universe telling you to pause. No mention of bills, no mention of insurance, no idea what it takes to rebuild from nothing. Nina doesn't hate Angela, she just doesn't live in the same world. And that's the danger. Some advice is spoken from comfort and handed to people in survival mode. So what do? First, treat advice like food from strangers. Just because it's handed to you doesn't mean it's nourishing. Ask, does this person understand my full context, my obligations, my trade-offs? If not, smile and move on. Let them talk. Let them feel wise. But never digest advice that wasn't cooked for your reality. Second, reverse the question. When someone says you should just quit, ask, would you be willing to cover my mortgage this year while I figure it out? That's when the mask slips. You'll see how fast they say, oh, I mean, just a thought. Right, just a thought, with no skin in the game. Third, guard your decision-making power like gold. Stoicism is about knowing what's within your control and owning it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. You can extend that. If it is not wise, do not follow it, especially when it comes from people who have nothing to lose from your fall. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Most destructive advice doesn't sound malicious. It sounds relaxed. It comes with soft eyes and easy tones and open hands. But underneath, it's someone else's untested fantasy delivered to your high-pressure reality with zero accountability. Let them talk. Let them project. Then go home, kiss your kids goodnight, and show up tomorrow for the life you're building, not the dream they're avoiding. Number 7. They talk trash about everyone else, which means you're next when you leave the room. You're grabbing coffee, the conversation's light, Then they lean in. You didn't hear this from me, but, and there it is. The download. Full detail. About someone else's divorce, their financial mess, the fight at last weekend's party, or what so-and-so really said behind closed doors. You nod, you smirk, you might even laugh, because let's admit it, gossip can feel like bonding. But somewhere in the back of your mind, something flickers. If they say this about them, what do they say about me? That flicker is your instinct. Don't ignore it. The person who always brings gossip to you is also the person who takes you as gossip to others. It's not an accident. It's not a one-off. It's a pattern. And it's rooted in a single truth. They don't build connection through respect. They build it through mutual disrespect. To them, trust isn't something sacred. It's something traded, and you're just today's audience. Psychologists call this behavior negative bonding. It's when people form closeness through shared contempt or criticism of others. It feels like intimacy, like you're being included in something secret, something behind the scenes, but it's a false sense of closeness built on the back of someone else's privacy. And eventually it will be your privacy being passed around like entertainment. Stoicism cuts right through this illusion. Epictetus said, "It is impossible to learn that which you think you already know." And people who talk like they know everyone else's life never stop to question the damage they cause or the emptiness that drives them. They speak not to inform, but to elevate themselves by shrinking others. And if you let them, you'll become part of the cycle. Take Ben, 36, from Raleigh. Graphic designer. Thought he had a close bond with his coworker Sam. Every lunch break, Sam dished out gossip about everyone in the office, who was dating who might be fired, who's secretly bankrupt. At first, Ben felt like he had insider access. Then one day, a client told Ben something Sam had repeated that only Ben had shared. It wasn't dramatic, but it was personal, it was private, and it was gone. That's when Ben understood, if someone is always serving gossip, it means they're also serving you. You just haven't heard it yet. So what do? First, shift the subject hard. When they start trashing someone else, respond with, "Not really my business," or "They're not here to speak for themselves." Simple, firm, not dramatic, but clear enough that they'll think twice about bringing you their next serving of slander. Second, stop rewarding gossip with attention. Don't laugh. Don't ask follow-up questions. Don't lean in. That slight curiosity you feed them, that's fuel. Without it, the fire dies. Third, protect your own reputation by silence. If you're not adding to the noise, you won't echo when it circles back. And when it does, when someone says, "So-and-so said you said this," you'll have the power of not having said a damn thing. Here's the real Stoic move. Realize that the mouth that burns others will eventually turn on you. Always. Because gossip isn't about truth. It's about control. It's about keeping the spotlight on everyone else's chaos so they don't have to face their own. Let them whisper. Let them stir the pot. Just make sure your name never gets added to the ingredients. Because trust built on betrayal always ends in silence. And the only people worth bonding with are the ones who speak of others as if they're in the room and treat you the same when you're not. Conclusion. Some people are close only because you haven't closed the door. They laughed with you. They shared memories, drinks, photos, history. But when you started to grow, to heal, to walk straighter, they changed their posture. Their smiles tightened. Their compliments became backhanded. They showed up less when you were rising and more when you were bleeding. And that's when it hit you. They weren't clapping for you. They were watching to make sure you didn't get further than them. Not every betrayal is loud. Some are whispered, stretched over years, delivered in polite sabotage, friendly advice that sinks you, jokes that humiliate you, silence that stings louder than criticism. And they think you won't notice because they've known you too long. But time spent is not the same as loyalty shown. Not everyone who walks beside you wants to see where you're going. Stoicism doesn't teach you to hate. It teaches you to see clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone despises me, that's their problem. My only concern is not doing anything deserving of contempt." That is your freedom, knowing that how others feel about your growth has nothing to do with your responsibility to grow. And once you see it, once the mask falls, you can't unsee it. That friend who always teased your pain, that cousin who only calls when there's drama, That coworker who mimics your every move and never says thank you. That supportive voice that only speaks when you're unsure. It was never about love. It was proximity. And now you have to choose closeness or clarity. Because the most powerful step you'll ever take is not fighting them. It's walking away without flinching. No speech, no rage, just distance. Cold, calm, final. And in doing that, you don't become heartless. You become whole. Like this video if you've ever had to outgrow someone you once considered untouchable. Share it with someone who's still stuck smiling in the company of quiet sabotage. Subscribe to Victory Stoic, where we don't just teach philosophy, we train you to move like a fortress. Drop your command code or story in the comments. When did you realize someone close didn't want you strong? And what did you do next? Thank you for watching. Thank you for thinking. And remember, the ones who smile when you suffer will never applaud when you rise. Leave them behind and rise anyway. They don't stab you in the back. They pull out your chair, smile, and wait for you to fall on your own.